Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propagandacast Addendum. Another things I'd like to see, covering a more sort of current unit. In this case, things I'd like to see a better Grenadier. The Grenadier kind of feel is a unit that is increasingly not worth his cost, and with more players basically skipping tier 1 to rush tier 2, I think there's an increasingly larger number of players who might be agreeing with it. The problem with the Grenadier basically is, despite being a 240 manpower, he slapped on with a reinforced cost for a 300 manpower unit, finding units which perform overall a lot better than them at a lower reinforcement cost, and of course at the same time further on have to, be slower than them. For example, since, they have to get an infantry company at first, that means Grenadiers will inevitably always be delayed compared to riflemen or infantry sections, which in many ways can easily beat the Grenadiers. And the problem is they can also get to the good positions before the Grenadiers, meaning the Grenadiers in many senses, well, they lack something, that's for sure. They lack, power, or they lack durability, or they lack some kind of knack, something that makes them stand out in comparison to other units. Because right now, obviously not. They're going to cause a problem. You can't just straight up buff them. We had that at one point, and they're going to just spam. Well, some can still spam, and they can sort of work somewhat, but the problem is eventually you will very quickly run out of steam again due to the high manpower upkeep, but also just the low squad numbers. And obviously some will say, just increase the squad numbers. Yes, because making everything more similar solves everything. Oh, wait, no. Right, again, Americans, they apparently needed a mortar, they got it, and things got a lot worse for the Wehrmacht, because again, all of a sudden, one of the Grenadiers' slight advantages, very quickly went completely away. So again, they need some kind of new idea, some kind of new niche here for the Grenadiers. They can't just be more fire, because again, then the Allies will scream for more firepower, then they get it, and of course, it just continues in this insane spiral of one-upmanship where the other side just says, I need more power, and it just goes nowhere. So rather than just, do it, straight up, let's try and expand or improve, perhaps even sharpen the role of the Grenadiers, giving something that makes them stand out more in comparison to something, the other squads. Make him, a bit more interesting in comparison. Again, give him something that gives him, again, more nuanced presence, and again, makes him stand up, for example, for the intersection again, who get a bonus in cover, and of course, practically a lot of bonus outside of cover increasingly, which rather undercuts that bit. But again, for the Grenadiers, we can't push in that direction. Of course, we can't push in the direction of Riflemen, who are just good everywhere. So again, where can the Grenadier be good? Where can he be good? And again, not in a way that I should conform sublime, because, okay, well, good with other units, yes, but then we already got blobbing on our hands, and that's not good. Again, they're sort of supposed to be in sort of more defensive initially, and sort of slowly powers up, sort of pushes ahead there. But again, due to how things work and how slow they generally tend to be, that generally really doesn't work out for the most part. And again, their sort of whole keep the infantry at bay doesn't work either, because in most cases the infantry can walk up to them and shoot them to bits. So again, that one doesn't quite work either. We need something that makes sense for the Grenadiers within their own context. And in that regard, it gets a bit tricky, since there's not an awful lot of those. As such, I do think one start would probably be to remove the bunkers and replace them with the ability to lay down barbed wire and sandbags. Again, they're supposed to be part of a defensive faction, yet they don't really have the tools for it, for starters, like nothing at all there. So that could, for starters, be a good idea, to give them more actually defensive tools, make it easy for them to sort of set up defensive positions, and with barbed wire make it harder for the enemy to bloody run straight at them in a B line. By doing that, of course, you could sort of further, enhance a bit that aspect of them. For starters, I also think another thing might be to just simply remove the rifle grenade. Causes more trouble than it's worth. Replace it with a steel hand granate, and that way, just give them all something that can better work up close versus the enemy. Maybe make it a bit cheaper then. And there again, all of a sudden, again, yes, it does make it a bit closer to the others, but ultimately the rifle grenade just causes more problems. And if it's good, in those cases, it ends up, conforming to blobbing, because again, just walk up, rifle grenade, a machine gun, even if it doesn't quite manage to suppress them right away. So it tends to be a bit of a bother as an ability. So replacing that would be a good start. Finding something else for veterans you want to be would also be a pretty damn good start. But again, we still need to find out, where could the Grenadiers be good? what could make them excel? Again, besides defensive, and again, in what terms then defensive? Because again, the infantry sections pretty much sort of just monopolize the whole being in cover bit. So again, the Grenadiers can't really work on that. In fact, in the sense, the Grenadiers' best bet seem to be just moving about out in the open. So again, buff the damage, some would say. But again, then we get into the arms race. Otherwise, we could say, give them a firepower of Obersoldaten. Great job, but again, they'll still be easy to hit out in the open, and of course, flank and so on there. So you could argue it could offset itself, but even that doesn't quite work out now, does it? And again, could just lead to some other wonderful problem because, again, arms race. And again, that's what we want to avoid. We want to give them something that makes a bit more sense. And apart from the first, we probably also look at the LMG 42 again. Most light machine guns now perform like it, which means, again, it's not frightfully unique. It doesn't really give the Germans an edge there. Well, maybe if we then give it a suppression ability, 30-second cooldown, but free to use. Not really something to hold a lot of units, but say one unit here and there, it could give the Grenadiers, again, the qualitative edge one-on-one, and also stop stragglers here and there, and the whole prevent, yes, beelining as well. And again, that's what I think we want to avoid, the whole beelining against them. And then all of a sudden, the question comes into be, well, suppression. Isn't that a thing? And again, what if we give the Grenadiers really low suppression? And I'm talking low suppression, the sort of stuff that's not going to insta-suppress anyone, but say, continued fire by standing out in the bloody open in front of the Grenadiers. Maybe that's an idea. Or perhaps, just not suppression, but some kind of accumulative bonus where basically the longer someone's under fire from a Grenadier squad, slowly damage will be increased again. It won't, make them harder to move about or anything like that. But again, standing about longer as the Grenadiers, which is just beelining for them, is going to be a bad idea. Again, it means prolonged combat versus the Grenadiers all of a sudden becomes a bad idea. And for that matter, it might also then, further enhance combined arms. Again, if we change the accuracy, so all of a sudden, it sort of becomes like a marked target, if you will, slowly growing or just acting naturally like a marked target. So for other units, again, there's a bit more of an incentive. But then again, that would also cause blobbing. So again, it would have to just be the only unit itself, maybe, or something else. But again, also maybe suppression. Though again, that would also cause blobbing. And let's see, again, that's the funny thing. It's not easy to, make something without necessarily incentivizing other nasty things. And that's the problem, right? You don't want to, again, incentivize blobbing again. That happened with the riflemen, the British infantry section, lots of firepower, harder to hit out in the open. Oh, hey, blobbing. So again, you want something that's half decent, but doesn't just encourage them to smack their infantry together and move about like that. So it's not really something I have a lot of easy answers to. For the veterans, one ability that probably just replacing it with a smoke grenade can be used defensively, but can also be used offensively. But again, as for the Grenadiers themselves, it is a really hard to say question. Apart from say maybe just make it more expensive again, give them a flat out buff. Except that's it, but ain't just only damage, not survivability, because again, received accuracy is the devil. Whereas just buffing the damage, less so, and again, would also incentivize the other bastard for using covers. I suppose that's sort of more of a, lazy solution until we come up with something better. But then I might also finally suggest, a final upgrade. An additional upgrade for the Grenadiers, the squad leader. Instead of just, doing what the British did, which just flat out gave everyone an extra man for low cost, instead we give the Grenadiers the ability to add a fifth man, 100 manpower, but then also increase the squad's firepower with an assault rifle. Probably not Panzer Grenadier grade, more Fultz Grenadier grade, but still a bit of extra firepower there. That way, giving them a bit more punch versus the opponent and closer to medium range as well. Fits in a bit with the older stuff from Company as one as well. Huzzah! And then perhaps, give the squad the ability for the squad to perhaps, passively heal itself or give it some other ability. Again, maybe mark target. Just a simple mark target. Again, expensive one, so you don't want to say pop it on everyone, but at the same time, even getting one there gives you a benefit. Mark the bloody target, and everybody can sort of that way and also deal with more pesky targets and so on. But of course, it still leaves us the question again with the niche. Perhaps flanking with the Grenadiers, bonus versus units. Once hit the other side, of course, the question is how on earth do you determine, when they're flanking? So again, that one goes out the door. Again, I'm thinking a lot about this, and honestly, I'm not even fully sure, but, I think at least try to start a discussion, and again, also point in, you can't just, easily just straight up buff them, because again, arms race. And again, then we just get more allies complaining, and that never really gets us anywhere happy, as we've already discovered. Hence the current state of the Wehrmacht for starters. And again, skipping tier 1 for tier 2. And again, there should of course also be some room for the Panzer Grenadiers. Again, the Grenadiers need some kind of role, some kind of room to excel in versus their opponents. And again, open combat, in a sense, might be it. But again, at least giving them sandbags, barbed wire, maybe some smoke grenades, regular grenades, and at least some suppression. The light machine gun could at least do a lot to, again, make them stand out more, give them a bit more role, and again, throwing the squad leader, mark target, and all of a sudden there's more this sense of combined arms working together to form a larger unity versus the opponent. Hell, you could add squad leaders to the rest of the German infantry unit as well. Pioneers, Panzer Grenadiers, Stormtroopers, give them a bit of extra for each squad leader they get that way, reflecting the, German nature. But also that way, maybe offsetting the initial expensive nature of the Grenadiers to let, allow them sort of that way get stronger through squad leaders, light machine guns, and then add a bit more punch to them. But again, overall, I suppose more of an exploration of the Grenadier and how to improve them. Also, please, Relic, give them better uniforms. They look terrible. They're too bright and they're too just, fudgy. Looking here, it's just nothing impressive. Give them the proper Feldgau or something else. Just, something where there's a bit, more contrast between the different bits of the uniform rather than just, one amorphous blob. Whoever designed that one really needs a bit of a light slap on the head. Nothing serious, nothing that makes them go really, ow. Just don't do that again. Because really, it's just terrible. So again, nice, decent Feldgau, or maybe something else, a bit more grungy stuff. There's plenty of options to look through. Books and the likes, they sort of find something that might make sense for the Grenadiers. But again, squad leaders, regular grenades, smoke grenades, barbed wire, sandbags, suppression with long cooldown and light machine gun, and I think we've sort of got more of an actual role for the Grenadiers without necessarily encouraging spam or blobbing, and also gives them a bit more role compared to everybody else, including the Brits and the Americans. So there you go. Bit more rambly because, again, it's not, one, I think there's a lot of easy answers for. Again, we've sort of seen a lot of choices in the Grenadiers throughout the time, and a lot of them went terribly wrong. So again, we're sort of trying to avoid that, obviously. But again, the question is what? And again, that's what I'm sort of trying to answer. So I don't know. My best guess was that. Hopefully those interesting. Hopefully it might give you some ideas at least, maybe to sort of push in a bold new direction. If it has, subscribe, like, share, and of course talk about it. Of course, tell Relic, please do something about the Wehrmacht. Please do something about the Grenadiers, because when an increasing number of players skip tier 1 because the Grenadiers as basic infantry doesn't really work, something's clearly wrong. So there you go. Thank you all for tuning in. See you all another time with another video. Cheers.